Welcome to the League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast. My name is Spenser, and I am one of your hosts on this podcast that we do for your enjoyment, for your listening pleasure, for your commute, or for your work, or for your just free time. Whatever you're doing, we're here for you. Today, I am joined by the other members of the League of Melanated Gentlemen who have come here today to give you a review because we are tapped in.
Hey, this is Brandon. Allow me to reintroduce myself. No, this is Jordan. I kind of always have that in my mind.
Oh, but wait! There's more! I'm sure that if you have listened to us before, you know that we have a resident Star Wars expert, and I will let him introduce himself to you now.
May the force be with you always. David has arrived.
Yes. Yes, David is here with us because we have for you a Star Wars review. And what is a League of Melanated Gentlemen Star Wars review without our dear friend, David?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Black David.
For the record, this is not Mr. Percival. This is David.
You know what? I'm going to come up with a Star Wars nickname that I'm just going to have to introduce myself with or something like that going forward. Because Mr. Percival is a popular character. I can't compete with
that. You're Darth David. How about that?
You know what? I'll take it.
Oh, goodness. Before we start into the review, we have to talk about a couple of things first. So, Jordan, can you tell the people where they can talk to us?
Yeah, of course. If you've been tapped in, as Brandon likes to say, if you've been tapped in, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and now, the newly fresh out the box white Air Force One wearing Instagram. We are now on Instagram. You can find us all at the same name at the League of Melanated Gentlemen. Search us there and give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscribe. All the things that all the influencers say. That's everywhere. League of Melanated Gentlemen. And then also this week we have wrestling with Worldwide Willis. That is Brandon's wrestling podcast that drops every Wednesday. And Brandon talks about the latest events going on in the world of wrestling, as well as gives his top fives, and he might have a guest on, he might run it back solo. So yeah, be sure and check that out. This week we have DC animation with Spenser and friends. I always have to think what week it is and to get it right. But yes, Spenser, what movie is on the docket for this Friday?
It will be Superman versus the Elite.
So Superman versus the Elite, you have days to watch the movie, and you can check out the review. I will say that James Gunn did say in this upcoming universe, the Elite is going to play a part of it. So, if you want to get a little head start on the DC cinematic universe, you can start by checking out, DC animation with Spenser and friends. And yeah, that's everything. Don't forget to rate and review us also on any of the streaming platforms that you use, whether that's Spotify or Spotify, as Brandon likes to say, on Apple Podcasts or on any other streaming service that you use. Yeah, check us out there.
Okay. Thank you for that. Today we are reviewing the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, the newest Disney Plus hotness that has dropped for Star Wars. I'm going to read a synopsis for both episodes in my own words, and then we're going to talk about it. So, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Episode 1.
Oh, spoiler alert.
Oh, damn it. Yes, yeah, thank you.
People don't even know.
Jordan, go ahead and run that for me. Listen to these words, for they may determine your next course of action. This is your official name brand League of Melanated Gentlemen spoiler warning. We are issuing this spoiler warning not only for the piece of media or content that is in the title of this episode, but also for the world or the universe in which that piece of media or content exists. If you are not caught up I would highly recommend you pause my voice, you catch yourself up, and then you join us once again. If you are all the way caught up, and or if spoilers do not offend you, please enjoy. Okay, now
There you
I'm
go.
gonna raw dog it.
Yeah, bro. My boy just went in hard, didn't he? Didn't ease it in a minute.
Whoopsies. My bad. I'll have to be better about that.
The force is not with you on that one.
Yeah.
The force was in fact with me, was the problem. So now that you know that there are spoilers coming, we can talk about it. Thank you for keeping everything in line, Jordan. Really appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for.
And so, episode 1, part 1, Master and Apprentice. We open with text rising through the screen, letting us know what's going on. Captain Hale is surprised to find that Jedi are looking to board his ship. He pretty immediately knows that they're not Jedi, and they start laying waste to his ship crew because they are, in fact, not Jedi. They are there to break Lady Morgan out because she has been captured by Ahsoka. Ahsoka visits a temple and locates the star map that will lead her to Thrawn. She is attacked by droids, but makes pretty easy work of them, and then they self-destruct. Ahsoka is then made aware of the fact that Lady Morgan has escaped. Unfortunately, the star map is locked, so Ahsoka must find Sabine Wren for assistance unlocking it. Sabine is out here being rebellious because she's supposed to be at a press conference, but she's out there lollygagging on her bike. And, she doesn't make it. The next day, Ahsoka and Sabine meet, and Huyang figures out that Balin's skull was behind Lady Morgan's escape. Sabine deliberately disobeys Ahsoka and leaves with the star map. Sabine goes home, unlocks the star map, but is promptly jacked and stabbed by Darth Sia. I mean, Balin's apprentice. And now episode 2. Part 2, Toil and Trouble. We open with Ahsoka in Sabine's hospital room. Sabine lets her know what happened, and she goes to Sabine's house to investigate. She finds a droid lingering, and they use the droid to determine that the droid came from Corellia, where Lady Morgan has businesses that were supposed to be dissolved. Turns out there's still some Empire loyalty, so one of Lady Morgan's ships is upgraded so that they can make the trip to Thrawn's location. But luckily, the general was able to put a tracker on it before it escaped. Those that were still Empire were arrested. Sabine cuts her hair and decides that she's ready to be an apprentice once again. Lady Morgan gets a message from Balin letting her know that they have the hyperdrive so they can finish the Eye of Sion to locate Thrawn. But Ahsoka is coming.
Good job,
and
man.
Those are those first 2 episodes.
Great work. Great work.
So I kept those tight because with shows I try to just give the big points instead of like super details. But we can talk about the details here shortly. Before we do that, our guest David is going to present us with a teaching moment for the main character of this series, Ahsoka. David, if you could please. I think you're muted.
Man, that's kind of wild. I don't know how that worked. So let's start again. A teaching moment by Darth David. So, Ahsoka Tano, the main character in this series entitled Show, is a Torguta. Togruta. That is how you say the race for people. They're known for the horns up top that are actually hollow and are great for echolocation and for overall just sensing their environment. It's a tribal thing. I can get into that later. And the Leku, which is down like the front of her body and the back side of her body, which she turns around to. All those things are part of her race of people. She was nicknamed Snips, if you watch the Clone Wars, by her master, then Jedi Knight Anakin Skywalker. her and him had a very rocky relationship from the start because, you know, the Jedi Council be trifling. And Master Yoda, the biggest hypocrite of them all, decided to make Anakin a master without the title by giving him an apprentice, completely violating the rule 2, or their rules for rule 2. Anyway, so Ahsoka. This all, like, her original coming through was through the Galactic Republic during the Clone Wars. That's when you first see her in Star Wars Clone Wars, and she spends well over a decade learning the easy way and hard way what it's like to be an apprentice of a rogue like Anakin Skywalker. During that, she masters Form 5, her fighting form, which is why you see that infamous one sword front, one sword with a reverse grip, which we kind of see in this series. Not a whole lot. I don't know if that's on purpose or not. It could be like a whole development of an older Ahsoka who's more mature in battle. Anyway, she has a ton of feats. This is probably one of my favorite lore-based characters in the series as far as like modern series goes. During the Clone Wars, you see her square off with some of the most deadly people during that time. She's fought against one of my favorite characters that we talked about in earlier episodes. You should go back and watch those. Cad Bane fights that bounty hunter quite frequently within the series and wins just about every time or escapes. She also faces off against Asajj Ventress, who was a secret apprentice of Count Dooku, super deadly, and old Wheezy Puff Man himself, General Grievous, with the 4 swords. She has crossed paths with that man, and that's a bad man, plenty of times, and never gets hurt. Never gets hurt. Anakin trained her butt off with that swordsmanship. As we fast forward through Clone Wars and we get to the end, because if I went through every single feat, we'd be here for 3 days, or for as long as that actual series went. So towards the end of the Clone Wars, we see Ahsoka questioning the Jedi Council, as most common sense people do. She befriends a girl named Burris Ophi, who turns out to believe that the Jedi Order is evil, corrupt. And because she believed those things, she decided to blow that mug up and frame Ahsoka in the process. Now the Jedi Council, being so wise and forthright, do an investigation and immediately assume that Ahsoka is the one that did it, though the episode makes no sense. I encourage you to go back and watch. At the end of the day, Anakin never believed that she was truly guilty and went and found that Burris Ophi was the actual true perpetrator of the crime. But by that time, the Jedi Council had already disowned Ahsoka and sent her off to the Republic for a trial. And if you guys watched that episode, Commander Tarkin, or Grand Moff Tarkin, that guy in the original trilogy for Star Wars, hated Ahsoka, hated her race of people, and tried to give her the death penalty, where she was miraculously saved last minute by Anakin with a confession from Ophi. But after being proven innocent, the Jedi Council tries to welcome her back with open arms. She looks at them like, y'all play is tripping, and decides to dip out. They slowly but surely reach out to her again for the final stage of the war against the Separatists and bring her back to lead Captain Rex from Clone Wars on a siege of Mandalorian, where Darth Maul is in charge. Plot twist. When they get there, Palpatine orders that infamous Order 66, and all while they're trying to stop the Mandalorians, the clones turn on everybody. It is pandemonium. She escapes that narrowly after Captain Rex, his chip malfunctions to where he can at least help her escape, and she goes into hiding. We jump then to Star Wars Rebels. So many years later, she's in the early stages of forming an underground network that helps her dismantle the Empire as it's forming. She is pivotal, and I do mean pivotal, in both the original trilogy movies as far as the background of how everything is taking place. Without her, Death Star would have been built a long time ago. The Empire would have been a whole lot more deadlier than it ever had been. During Star Wars Rebels, which is another series you guys should also watch, she joins a young Ezra Bridger to take on the Empire with various missions and take up arms against the infamous Admiral Thrawn. Now, this is also a spoiler for Rebels because we can't exactly continue Ahsoka's story without ruining this. So, secondary spoiler warning, in case you want to watch. At the end of Rebels, a mature Ezra decides to take on Thrawn by himself. And Thrawn, not wanting to give up, decides that the final battle will be had in his Star Destroyer, to which a miraculous plot of these majestic creatures that are able to travel through hyperspace. Ezra summons them there. They take on the ship, grab Thrawn and Ezra as he's force holding Thrawn into place, and jumps off into hyperspace. No one has any idea where they went. Not a clue. These animals just did their own thing. They light up and they glow, and then poof, they're gone. Now, Ahsoka through this whole time was not there at the final battle. She faced off against Darth Vader. And after she faced off against Darth Vader, she lost. Due to emotional conflictions in that battle. Now, they're battling in a Sith temple, and as that Sith temple falls and comes down to a crush, Ahsoka is about to die, and out of nowhere, a somewhat mystical portal opens up, and a future, like from the future, Ezra, not the same guy that got, self-sacrificed, but a future version of himself, reaches through there and pulls Ahsoka into what we call the world between worlds. We're getting real mystical now. That is how she somehow survives. And because everyone thinks she's dead, she goes into hiding and continues with her underground rebellion. We fast forward to our Disney Plus show, and we still see Ahsoka off fighting the good fight. But, as you said before, Spencer, she's trying to locate a device to help find Admiral Thrawn and ultimately Ezra, who we see in a hologram by our home Mandalorian girl, Sabine Wren, who, in case you didn't know, was an apprentice of Ahsoka, if you watch Rebels. And they fell out. Now, her feats, I'm going to make this short and simple because I'm sure that Jordan's got 1,000,005 questions. She's let's see. She fought against Darth Maul in that final episode, and she beat him, which we know that Darth Maul is one of the better Star Wars duelists that there is. And she took him on, whooped his ass, and they captured him. And then Order 66 happened. She's an extremely strong wielder of the Force. Like I said, she uses Form 5. She is a person if she shows up, you really don't want to fight against her if you don't know what you're doing. As we see in part 2, I do believe, that an Inquisitor, because y'all see that sword with the rounded hilt, shows up and tries to take her on. And Ahsoka, if you see her face, while disappointed, I saw a little smirk in there because she knew she's about to whip his ass. Can I tell on this podcast? I can't.
You've listened to this podcast.
She's about to whoop that man's ass. I swear. There's a little smirk on her face. Lit them lightsabers up and went to town. She also has this thing called Force Echo or Sense Echo. I think I had to look it up because I think in canon it's called psychometry or something like that. Essentially, you pick up an item and you can sense where it's been and who's used it, as we saw when she walked through the apartment of Sabine Wren and was kind of retracing steps. That's called Force Echo. Now, we also see that in the new game that came out, Jedi Survivor. Cal Kestis has that power or unlocks that power, and it's a super rare thing, a very, very rare thing. Another thing I want to point out, which I don't know if other Star Wars nerds realize this, but in the scene where she initially finds the orb that is the map, she uses both of her lightsabers with the Force to kind of circle around.
That was raw. I saw that.
That is another amazingly rare, and I do mean old Republic rare power. The original person that's able to use lightsabers to do that with, she had a frail body, so that's the only way she knew how to fight. And she would use 4 lightsabers just like General Grievous would, but in the air. So imagine trying to fight somebody and she could use all 7 styles of, Jedi swordsmanship with each different lightsaber. You don't know where you're getting hit from. And then she can use force abilities too. So I'm thinking that based on them showing us that, is that we're going to see a whole lot more powers from Ahsoka by the time this thing is all said and done. But yes, a teaching moment with Darth David.
Wow.
Okay. So
that was a lesson. That was definitely a lesson.
I mean, tapped in.
Hey man, look, I did y'all a favor. I cut it short because that girl's lore is long. Ooh, it's long.
Okay. Well, that's why you're here. You're our expert. So I do have one question for you. Actually, I have 2 questions for you before we jump into the episode. So, firstly, where are we timeline-wise as far as what comes next, as far as what we've seen? So, what are we between right now, as far as movies or, again, the Star Wars timeline?
So, technically, if we're going to everything in Star Wars is set between two different timelines of BBY, which is the Battle of Yavin, which is where the Empire is officially obliterated, and then ABY, which is after the Battle of Yavin, where the Empire is dismantled. Empire does not, while they were successful and took over the goddamn galaxy, they did not last very long, timeline wise, if you really think about it. Because at this point, we've already been through Mandalorian season 3, which is set at like 11 ABY. So we're after the Battle of Yavin. So the Empire's already been destroyed. So Ahsoka went through the Galactic Republic, the brief Empire, and then the destruction of the Empire. Because I had the same question too. Because based on the timeline in my head, I thought so many things had happened and taken place. It really hasn't though. So between the Galactic Republic shutting down, a young Luke Skywalker, not old, as we see in the sequel trilogy. So this is before that. We are in between the last movie in the original trilogy and the first movie in the sequel trilogy.
So we're between episodes 6 and 7.
Correct. We're in between episodes 6 and 7. That's where Mandalorian.
What movie is what movie is 6 and 7? I don't even remember.
This guy, Jesus.
We doing this again,
bro? I told you I watch all of them back to back, so they all run together for me. It's like watching a marathon of like Baby Boy on BT. Like it just kept going.
Star Wars Episode 6 is Return of the Jedi. It is the very last one where Luke saves Anakin or saves Darth Vader, who then becomes back Anakin right at the end, like, I'm going to save my son, and Palpatine dies, which we know.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he does, but he force jumps into another body that he's cloned. I don't know why he cloned an old-ass body, but he did. And then Episode 7 is The Force Awakens. That is where we introduce Rey, we introduce all these other new characters, and, get disappointed. But it's fine. It's cool. It's not a big deal. But that's where we're at. To answer your question.
I was like, he's about to cry.
We're in between episodes 6 and 7.
Yeah. Hella disappointed.
Excellent. Okay. And why are her lightsabers white?
I was going to ask that too once we got into it.
So, lightsaber colors, do you guys remember from our last episode? You may not.
Kyber crystals.
Hey, points to Jordan for the Kyber crystal.
I'm tapped in, bro. I'm tapped in.
Brandon, get your man.
Well,
get your man. Get this man a shirt.
I knew about the Kyber crystals, but I guess I didn't know if colors meant something.
Yes.
Like if the color that you use is like determines your, because I know that all the Sith use red, but I didn't know if the other color, like green means this, blue means this. I didn't know if it was a situation like that or not.
Correct. So Ahsoka's lightsabers are super unique. For starters, they're two different sizes because of her fighting style. So one is a shorter hilt and the other one's a longer one. Longer one's more traditional. The only way to let's just go from the beginning. Kyber crystals themselves are a rare mineral found on various different planets, but there was one specific one the Jedi would go to have their Padawans take one, because the Force will use Kyber crystals to go and search out, hey, yours is going to be green. Hey, yours is going to be blue. Yours is going to be yellow, which yellow is super rare. It's more for like the guards and stuff like that. And there's a process to make it yellow. And then, if you're Samuel L. Jackson and George Lucas wants you in his movie, then your lightsaber's purple because it will stand out. But Ahsoka, with her white lightsabers, the only way to get a white lightsaber is the opposite direction of a red lightsaber. So a red lightsaber is not a red kyber crystal, just like a white lightsaber is not a white kyber crystal. What we're talking about now is purity and corruption. So you can take a blue lightsaber, and that blue lightsaber will literally turn red in your hands if you succumb to the Sith. If you succumb to the dark side and the ways of the Sith, that blue lightsaber will then become red. You can corrupt your kyber crystals with Sith energy, with dark side energy. If that makes sense. So it's a literal, you use the Force, take apart your lightsaber, all the pieces are floating in the air, like you see in Jedi Survivor. And then you are literally taking your Force energy and all the negativity and Force pushing it onto that kyber crystal, slowly cracking it and breaking it until it turns red. The opposite is what Ahsoka did. She took two Inquisitor lightsabers, broke them apart with their red crystals, and imbued the good side of the Force into them, purifying them, making them white.
Dude, now, I don't know how Ahsoka's not the best character in Star Wars. Like, I'm so lost. Like, why is Yoda even around?
She's badass, 100%. And Yoda technically is gone at this point.
Yeah.
Yoda's gone at this point. If you, in the original trilogy, Yoda fades away into the Force. In fact, he's one of the voices, as well as Ahsoka herself. When she passed, she went into the Force, reached out to Rey to help Rey beat Palpatine in that last movie. In the very last movie of the sequel trilogy, go if you rewatch the sequel trilogy in that last movie, she literally everyone is speaking to her using Force voice, which you can only use if you're dead. Qui-Gon Jinn is a master of it. That's how he was talking to everybody after he passed. They encouraged her and imbued her with their Force energy because the Force is immortal. It's a cycle, living Force, dead Force. They imbued her with Force energy, and that's how she made it through that movie and won her battle. So yes, Ahsoka also, when she passed, talked to Rey. That's canon. But yes, to answer your question, that's how you get white lightsabers, and that's why she has two.
Okay, and I don't want to stay on this too long because we do have an episode to talk about. But can that only happen with an already corrupted kyber crystal?
Technically, according to canon, no. You can take a regular blue, green, yellow, whatever, and purify it. Not many people can do that. That is a super rare thing, and I do mean super rare. There are only so many white lightsabers in existence in Star Wars canon, so it's not commonplace. Most of the time, if you take a red lightsaber back, you can return it to its original color if you are strong within the Force. But as far as purifying it to that point of being white, not many people can do that. They'll just store the kyber crystal somewhere else and go get them another one and assemble their hilt again. So
okay, now the episode.
There we go. All right.
Oh goodness. So are any of the ship that Baylan got on and all that, are any of them important? Like, do we care about Captain Hale or his unit at all?
Talking about the ones that they destroyed, whipped through like butter?
Yes.
No. That is what we call cannon fodder. They were literally set up to die.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Background characters. Okay.
Is there anything that you can tell us about Baylan?
So
if not, okay, but I didn't know if he was was in both episodes. He feels somewhat important.
I'm not a big person on Baylan's background. I actually had to go look into him, so I don't have a lot on Baylan. As far as him surviving, the story is pretty much the same as Ahsoka's. Bear in mind, you guys, Ahsoka's 47 years old. So at that point in time, she is, even though she's at that age, she's still a hell of a combatant. Baylan looks older than her, significantly, which leads me to believe he was already a knight, because she was an apprentice. About to become a knight, but it never happened because she was kicked out and she didn't go back. He must have already been there, been a knight, been out on a mission when Order 66 came through before he went into hiding. So just generically based on what I've seen before, I don't want to come to y'all with no facts. No, I don't know a whole lot about him, but he is using the rule of two, as most Sith do. He does have an apprentice and master concept. So even though, Palpatine had Vader and then Vader had, I'm gonna count it as canon because Starkiller is a freaking cool game. Force Unleashed 1 and 2. Even though the rule of two does apply here, we see that when he makes the comment, more power than you can ever imagine. He's just imagining himself taking the place of Palpatine and creating a whole new order. Which, unfortunately, guys, we know how this ends because we've seen the sequel trilogy, so they're not successful, but it's okay.
Right.
All right, we'll get there.
Okay. And do you have anything for us on Lady Morgan?
So Lady Morgan's confusing. I watched Mandalorian, and I was under the assumption that even though Lady Morgan was the magistrate of that town that she took over, I had no idea she was a Night Sister. That was a plot twist. For those of you that don't know, Night Sisters in Star Wars canon and in Star Wars Clone Wars are a mystical race of people. So think about, how do I say this? Think about Yoda's race. They're a mysterious race. Not much is known about them, but they're extremely sensitive to the Force. They have a lot of Force ability. Force ability is measured in midichlorians. The Night Sisters are the opposite of that. Their mystic powers are just as strong but they flirt with the dark side of the Force so much that they assume that all Night Sisters are evil. Now we know in Jedi Survivor, Cal Kestis meets a Night Sister. She ain't that bad.
Yeah.
She ain't that bad. So, heck, you got it. So Lady Morgan here, I thought she was just a regular human. The way she was wielding that Beskar spear, going up against Ahsoka, I thought she was just a badass, trained, regular, whatever. And then they reveal she has white hair and face tattoos. I had to go back and look at Mandalorian because I was confused. I was like, wait, they never mentioned that she was a Night Sister then, and that'll make no sense because if she is a Night Sister, why didn't she use her magic from the jump? I just, things, plot holes for your boy.
She looked like she reminded me of the woman from Game of Thrones, the woman in red.
Yes, yes,
that's
definitely giving woman in red.
That's what she reminded me of. Yeah.
Okay.
100% woman in red.
And that actually, you kind of answered my question already. I was going to ask, what is a witch in Star Wars? Because they kept saying she was a witch, and everybody has their own definition of what witch means, but usually it just means, in most cases, a lady who uses magic.
And that is correct, word for word what you just said. She is a lady that uses magic, which is, it kind of shows you how the Star Wars universe has adapted over time to the abundance of information with the Republic to the absence of information with the Empire, because everything was censored with the Empire. Knowledge was not spread, misinformation, miseducation. Balin's apprentice has clearly grown up through the early, mid, and late stages of the Empire, to where when she sees her, all she thinks about is witch and not Night Sister. Night Sister was a common term in Clone Wars. You knew what they were, and they were a big and popular thing before they were hunted down. So when she says survivor, she is a legit survivor. Night Sisters were taken out because their powers rivaled the Sith. Their powers rivaled the Jedi. How you could say, Spencer, if you had traveled across the country and you were in New York City and somebody jumped you and they stabbed you, a little shanky shank, they just stabbed you. I'm over here in Oklahoma like, something happened to Spencer. The Force told me. Night Sisters are the same thing, but they use magic for that.
But what does magic look like in Star Wars, though?
Like visually for the Clone Wars, think about just
I mean, just in general, because everybody out here making stuff float.
Correct.
They're already jumping hella far.
They can make you with the Night Sisters possess the ability to bring people back from the dead, although they're not the same. It's think about the Lazarus Pit in DC. You're not the same when you come back. They have the power to communicate through long distances, open portals. They can, telepathy. They can commune with different animals. They can make you stronger, make you weaker. They can poison you. They can corrupt your mind and manipulate you. You understand powers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's witch shit.
Yep.
Yeah, that's regular witch shit. I thought everybody can do that in Star Wars, honestly, but I guess not.
So I guess the Force is not considered magic.
The Force?
No.
I mean, in Star Wars.
No, it's not.
Because out here, yeah, that's some space magic. But in Star Wars,
that's just regular Tuesday, huh?
Yeah, the Force is just, this thing that we all know exists, and certain beings have a sensitivity to it, and it's just a reality of life. But what them bitches is doing, that's different. That's sorcery over there.
That is sorcery. That is 100% sorcery. So with the Force, and you're using the Force abilities to lift and levitate, jump, and you can actually heal people with the Force. There's a Force healing power. You can do all those things as a Night Sister, but it's all corrupt. There's all some corruption in there. It's not what you think. There's always a consequence to their stuff. How the Force is pure and the Sith is pure evil, the dark side is pure evil. The Night Sisters float near the pure evil side. That's why you see Darth Maul is the male version of a Night Sister.
A Night Brother?
Not Night Brother. That's not the same thing. Night Sisters use their magic. The male versions, and I think it's Darthmere is where they're from or something like that. So I don't know if he's a Darthmerian or.
Let's get to the episode. We keep.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, my fault.
No, you're good. I had questions, and I was next going to ask about Thrawn.
Come on, we don't even know. Whoa, we got at least Thrawn first.
Okay, let's say that. Let's save Thrawn until we get to the end.
I haven't even seen him yet. I don't want to know who he is yet.
Huh?
Yeah.
I just said spoiler alert. We gotta. If we gonna talk about Thrawn at all, that means I'm spoiling Rebels.
Let's talk about Thrawn later. We'll put Thrawn on the shelf for now. Okay, so what did we think about these episodes?
I'm gonna go first.
I was gonna say let Brandon go first since he tapped in.
Okay, all right. I thought they were really good, man. I thought we were off to a really good start. I've seen I've seen Rebels, so like everything hit for me. I thought it was like I guess this is technically they're saying like the fifth season of Rebels. So it's a really easy carryover. I mean, most of that stuff is directly from Rebels.
Oh
Like
man,
the wall, yeah,
Yep.
the painting on the wall, a lot of the shots with the ships flying by, Sabine walking back with her helmet off and in the Mandalorian armor. Like a lot of this stuff is straight from Rebels, so it was dope to see that. Obviously, Ahsoka is one of the fan favorites, so it kind of makes sense why they kind of upped the budget on this one. And like, yeah, it just felt like a movie, honestly. Like it felt movie quality. Whereas like, and I shouldn't, but like I was comparing it to like a Disney Plus MCU show. And I'm like, bro, this is just different level. Like this is taken to the top of the top. They put a movie budget on a TV show and you kind of see the quality. Whereas MCU, you can tell you're watching television. Whereas this, I honestly couldn't tell I was watching television. I thought I was watching a movie. And yeah, I thought the Ezra showing up, that was dope. His mannerisms was all the same that you saw in Rebels, so that was cool to see. Yeah, Sabine, jeez. I mean, we can talk about it, but I mean, I can keep it moving. But yeah, Sabine was on another level as well in many different areas, and yeah, and I just thought all the adapted characters from Rebels look great, and then all these new characters look really cool too. And I'm still like R.I.P. Kanan, like R.I.P. to a lot of people. It was tough not to see some people still there, but yeah, I thought they killed it. First two episodes, off to a great start.
It's interesting to see we have two people who was tapped in with Rebels. Spencer, you didn't watch Rebels, did you?
No, there are too many.
Yeah, so this is like we have two people who watched it and two people who didn't. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
Jordan, what did you think?
I really liked it. I remember we reviewed some other Star Wars stuff, and you guys said lightsaber battles are for casuals. And yeah, this was for me. I enjoyed.
Yeah, this is definitely for a casual. Yeah, this is definitely for a casual.
I enjoyed it. I will say I want to be the first one. I like to think I was the first one in the world who's noticed this. But at 5 minutes and 22 seconds, we saw the wire that pulled him up when the old dude got force choked. And so I did text. I texted Brandon and Spencer. I was like, "Yo, like 5 minutes 22 seconds, you can see the wire." And yeah, I like to think that I was the first person who noticed that. But yeah, I enjoyed the show though. Ahsoka is pretty cool, especially that first scene of her like throwing the lightsabers down and then making the little circle and cutting to the ground. That was pretty dope to see. Her fighting, it's pretty good as well. And I will say, I don't know if this is a forbidden thing to say. I don't know how weird it is, but be honest with you, I probably smash Ahsoka. But I know it's just like I know it's just Rosario Dawson in orange.
I can guarantee you're not the first person to say that, and you will not be the last.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure that there's a community of folk.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to be in that community, but I'm just saying in the Rosario Dawson community, in her looking like Ahsoka, I'm cool with not the cartoon version that maybe the other community might be into.
That's the thing. In this show, I'm sure there are already forums about Ahsoka and Syndulla and Sabine. And, like I'm sure that's already, the internet is already going crazy.
Yeah. Sabine look good too. I'll give you that.
Sabine look good too. Look, Barlex can get it. Be all right. Cosplay.
Yeah. So yeah, good show though. Those first two episodes.
I also enjoyed it. I too am probably a casual because like if I'm gonna watch Star Wars, a lightsaber shit, that's what I need.
Yeah.
I will say, like, there were two things that let me know that she the baddest, and that was whenever she did the circle in the ground,
yeah,
and then whenever she was fighting the Inquisitor, and then he like called his lightsaber back, and she just like gently moved
Bro,
over.
that was mood. That was fire.
I was
That
like,
was fire.
ooh,
Yeah,
she the baddest.
that let you know, like, she let you leave. Like, she letting you leave with your life, but that's about it. That was
I
fire.
didn't even
Remember
realize
who
that.
she's trained by Anakin in his prime, like in his prime. Like that's
Right.
she fights with an arrogance, man, and it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Because she was there was a lot of smirks.
Yeah.
A lot of smirks. And I was like, Rosario Dawson is she's doing that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even know those were Inquisitors until David said that. I thought I recognized that lightsaber somewhere, but I couldn't remember where. And so I was like, oh, maybe that's just the lightsaber. But
I didn't think there were going to be any Inquisitors anymore, honestly.
So that the after the end of the and you see this in Rebels too, at the end of the Empire, it almost had a reverse effect, just like the end of the Republic. How the Jedi were scattered, so were the Inquisitors. Now,
Gotcha.
remember, the Inquisitors had an entire facility dedicated to them.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So, like, when the Empire fell, they didn't just stop being Inquisitors. They went to become mercenaries. They went to go do other things. They can't go back to being Jedi. They're already corrupted. And if you believe what you believe about the Force, ain't no return path from that. Most of them are not able to come back.
That makes sense. But yeah, overall, killed it. I was just surprised with all the adaptation, like the stuff they moved so well over to live action. I was just surprised how well it was.
We will do. We'll do a rating of the entire series at the end, unless you want to do a rating of the episodes we've seen.
I think we should do it at the end. At the end of the series.
Yeah, because I have seen many shows have like start great and then
Facts.
Yeah, terrible.
Are you talking about Miss Marvel, or are you talking about every other Disney Plus Marvel show?
I'm simply saying I have seen shows do it. I am not attacking anyone in particular, but I have seen many shows do that. So we are going to see what happens whenever we get, to the end of this thing. So is it, David, would you say that Ahsoka is rebellious by nature?
100%. So just quick background, because I don't want to tangent this one. Her race of people, the Togruta, they are tribal by nature. So in Clone Wars, you see an episode where she like liberates them from being, enslaved and stuff like that from the Separatists. But her entire like people, they stick together no matter what. And the ones that isolate are considered weird, or they're considered leaders. For a Force-sensitive user to be taken, or it's kind of weird how to say this because they're not technically taken, they're just kind of donated, which is weird. When a baby is donated to the Jedi Temple because they're Force sensitive and then raised there, they lose that sense of tribalness. So yes, Ahsoka has been a rebellious rogue from Jump Street. When she was Anakin's apprentice, he didn't want her. He didn't want her at all. So she had to fight to be his apprentice. And then once he saw that she was talented, then he started to like her and develop. So she's had to grind out some stuff all by herself to only then get abandoned. So and through that tragedy, that's how her personality develops.
And I ask that question, and again, I'm on the outside looking in. I don't have all of the details. So this could be some shit that somebody has already talked extensively about, but just in my lack of knowledge. What this leads me to is it a coincidence that she was the apprentice of Anakin who's super rebellious and then had an apprentice, Sabine, who's super rebellious? Or like, so do we generally see personality connections between master and apprentice, or is that a coincidence in this case? Because when we look at Obi-Wan and Anakin,
I was just about to say,
significant difference there. But when we look at Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, there's some overlap, and
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a very good point. And you see these dynamics in the master and apprenticeship. Typically, in all of Star Wars, you don't have a master and apprentice. They get along. It's typically polar opposite personalities that are having to train off each other. George Lucas does that very well. I'm glad you brought up Qui-Gon, because it's ironic how all of these things take place. Qui-Gon's master is Count Dooku.
Oh,
Count Dooku.
Did I know that? Whoa. You just said that like everybody knew that.
I
They
was
should
like, that's
know that.
news to me.
Y'all don't know that? Y'all don't
Yeah,
see that?
I don't know.
There's a whole
I didn't
TV
know
show
that.
about it.
I'm about
Like,
to say
What TV show?
let me redirect y'all to Disney's there on Disney Plus there are these shorts and you do see Tales was it Tales of the Jedi? I think it's
Tales
called.
of the Jedi. Yep.
Tales of the Jedi and Tales of the Jedi and in canon because it's also in canon there are plenty of comic books on it. You see that Qui-Gon was taught by Dooku. That was the original Master Apprentice. And if you look at their dynamic, I encourage you to go watch. It's a great series. It really is.
It really is.
Qui-Gon is more mystical, whereas Dooku is more practical, which is why we see Dooku leave the Order to do his own thing because the Jedi are not getting things done.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first dynamic. And then we see that once he becomes a knight, then master, Qui-Gon is given the opposite of his personality in Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan is a rule follower. Qui-Gon is a free spirit. They did that on purpose. And then we see when Qui-Gon dies, Anakin is a rebel and Obi-Wan's a free spirit.
Right.
I mean, not Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's a rule follower and Anakin is a rebel. So like these polar opposite personalities keep trailing all the way down. Ironically, all of these people were given apprentices that they didn't really want. That's pretty much how this works. And then you have Ahsoka, who took one under her wing. But Ahsoka's always had a soft spot for Mandalorians. If you watch Rebels, if you watch Clone Wars, you just see she floats to the Mandalorians. And I don't know if that's a trope that they're trying to like fill out or it's something to do with her personality and that tribalness of Mandalorians stick together. They are a together-esque bunch. A Mandalorian is a Mandalorian for life, for their creed or whatever. That's just the way they are. And because of Ahsoka's background, like her race of people, maybe she just floats to that because that's what her people are. They are a tribe. They stick together. Ironically, she, as you saw in the episodes, said that she walked away. She walked away from her master and she walked away from her apprentice. Ahsoka's cutoff game is like Spenser's. Way too strong.
Yeah, Spenser didn't text me back today, and I see that cutoff game's coming in pretty strong.
Stop it right now.
I was hurt.
Oh, anyway, cool. I'm sorry that this episode is literally just me asking questions.
Oh no, I answered away. The
and
people
also, one thing we haven't even discussed either is how Rosario Dawson even ended up as Ahsoka, which I think is a pretty big deal. Like the internet is the one who got her that job.
Really? I didn't know that.
Y'all, wait. Remember, people was like casting her, fan casting her before Ahsoka was ever even talked about.
I sort of remember that.
Yeah, they people were fan casting her, like saying that she used to play Ahsoka, and they put the ideal in her head to like that she could do it. And this was like years before they even announced anything Ahsoka. Wow. Yeah, what? I thought everybody knew that.
Yeah, I want to say it was like Clone Wars was still going on.
Yeah, like this is old.
Yeah,
oh wow,
they were
lost on me.
Yeah,
yeah. So when they finally announced the show, like she was basically the front runner for it.
Yeah. So they essentially Danny Glover Spider-Man her into Ahsoka.
Basically.
Donald Glover, not Danny Glover. Donald Glover.
Yeah. We knew who you meant.
Yeah.
Who?
I didn't know that the internet made that decision, but I knew that Rosario Dawson was always, like in my head, she was always gonna be Ahsoka. But I should have figured that the internet made that happen.
Yeah, they subconsciously put it in your mind.
That's why, like, when she first showed up in Mandalorian, that's what people were like, "Oh shit," you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of the fruition that came to fruition, but yeah, it's crazy. I thought her performance was really good. Like, you know, compared to, is again, like you mentioned, she's older. Like some people were complaining, like she was saying she was more stiff, but I'm like, if you know everything she's been through, and she's older now,
yeah.
Like, she's
literal war veteran.
Yeah, she's not going to be trusting. Why would she trust Sabine with the Allspark
map,
whatever you want to call it?
This dude just called Allspark.
She said to Sabine, "The map stays here. Don't leave." And she was generous about it. She was like, "I think you leaving is a really bad idea. The map stays here. You do what you want, but the map stays here." Speaking of, that leads me to my next question. Can you explain the star map to me? How was it like built and why did it all like I don't understand.
So you see in Star Wars in general, there are a bunch of different maps and devices that hold maps. I don't know if it was in um what is that? I don't know if it was in Jedi Survivor or it was in one of the Battlefront games or something like that, where you're hunting down a map. So different type of maps. The one in this one is an orb map, and I imagine it was built by the Night Sisters. Otherwise, I don't know how she would know about it. And they were on a Night Sister temple. So I imagine magic was used to assemble. There you go. I imagine magic was used to assemble that one. Other maps you see are in holocrons, like the Jedi use holocrons in their temple all the time to use maps and stuff like that. So there are, throughout the Star Wars universe, there are a multitude of different ways to have star maps. That one specifically, though, I imagine because as you see in the beginning of most shows in a galaxy far, far away, we're talking about one specific galaxy. So the fact that we've just now acknowledged that there's another one.
I noticed
that blew my mind.
that. Yeah, I noticed that too.
Yeah, correct. I'm like, oh, so we about to intergalactic travel? That's thing. Hyperspace gets you from one system to another. Like there's a core, the outer core. With that map, you see the different planets in different systems. Every planet has a set system. Like Coruscant is its own system in the inner core planets. As we get to Tatooine, that's its own other system, and you got to use light speed to get there. And if you watched Solo, you know that is dangerous as shit. So the fact that you can travel from a planet to another galaxy and there's like a space road for that is wild to me. That's something that I have not seen before in the things that I've.
Okay,
so that blew my mind.
I guess my question is, who or how was a star map created that led them to Thrawn? Because that would say to me that someone had to know where Thrawn was, create the map, and then put it there.
It's magic.
That is also something that I'm waiting to see them unravel, because I don't understand it either. Like I went to before, the end of Rebels ended with a standoff between Ezra, who's the main character of Rebels, and Thrawn, who's the main antagonist. So when they're facing off and, you know, the blaster bolts are going everywhere, Ezra gets shot in the arm, all the stormtroopers are killed. These majestic creatures, who by the end of this podcast, I will know the name of, it just escapes me right now, grab the Star Destroyer from the front.
Is the Purgles?
It might be. I'm
is
looking
the whales?
Yes, it's those whales that
I think it's the Purgles. Yeah, I think
did you Google that, or you knew that?
No, I knew that. Come on, man, I'm tapped in.
Hey,
bro.
Tapped in. So they grabbed the ship.
Darth Brandon.
They're right there. Get this man a lightsaber. So he grabbed the ship and then just take off in a direction. So there's nothing at the end of Rebels that tells you where they went at all. Like there's no hint, there's no nothing. So the fact that this map knows where they went, they're gonna have to do some background and tie this in, because I'm lost. As a fan, cool. I am lost.
Cool. I was hoping that the answer would be in the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
There we go.
Because I didn't understand that. Okay, so now Sabine. What about Sabine made her like skilled enough to be able to figure out the map? Like why does Sabine have that? Or why did they go to Sabine? Why did they immediately know that Sabine would be able to give them answers? What skill set does Sabine have that made her the one for this?
So the thing about Sabine is that it also plays into Ahsoka's, I won't say weakness because it's not a weakness, but her favoritism of Mandalorian people. In Rebels, she takes Sabine. Sabine and Ahsoka flock to each other in Rebels, and Ahsoka takes her under the wing, teaches her how to wield a lightsaber, teaches her about the Force. Sabine has a natural intuition with technology. When there's outside of the first episode in Rebels where Ezra is the one hacking a door to get into a base, Sabine is the one they go to for all their technical troubles.
She throw bombs everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and she's your demolitions expert. So the hint that Sabine could get it open is just a callback to all the training she went in her experiences in Rebels. That's really all it is just a callback. Because if you think about it, episode 1 of Rebels, Ezra is the Force sensitive one. Sabine is not. There's no indication she has any Force power. Right. She's just heavily trained by Ahsoka, on top of all the stuff she's already been through in life. So she has the ingenuity to figure that type of stuff out.
And
That's just all back to intelligence.
Hu Yang very specifically says to her, like, you are the least force sensitive person I've ever met.
Bro, he was going in on her, bro.
Yeah, he was.
Like, he basically said, when it comes to the force, you ain't shit.
Right. He's like, you're the last person I would go to.
Yeah, like, why are you even here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, excellent. So she's just kind of tech savvy, and like that's a natural skill she just kind of has.
Correct. As exactly. Ahsoka's a natural detective because she had to be with Anakin and Obi-Wan. Sabine is the exact same way. If there's a troublesome problem, she will figure out a way around it if you're stuck. I almost promise you. That's why they went to her.
And she's very like artistic. So like I could see them being like, there's some symbols or some stuff. You could be like, you know what I mean? She could be one to figure all that stuff out. That's why she paints all her gear, Mandalorian gear, painted her helmet.
I also think this is just a way of bringing her into the show, because since this thing is a Rebels part, whatever, I do think we see parts of the crew. Now, the crew was demolished in the show, and you'll see that if you watch it. But the remnants of the crew, they've now reintroduced the remaining three. Yeah, they're introduced the remaining three, and main character Ezra's also been dropped. So I think the reason they went to her is to complete the cast, honestly.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to tie her in. She's tech savvy. She can troubleshoot problems. We need to go to her. Now that we've got her back, we can bring the whole Rebels crew back.
Yeah. Except for Kanan. R.I.P.
I got a logical question about lightsabers. So in the episode, we see Sabine, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We seen Sabine get, stabbed basically with the lightsaber. Yep. Now, the reason she doesn't bleed out is because basically it cauterized the wound, right?
Instantly, which is worse. Yes, that's what happens. So when you see somebody lose a limb, it's instantaneously cauterized. There is no blood, especially if that lightsaber is set to kill and not stun. Yeah, it cuts right through, cauterizes the wound, you're done. And oftentimes that's worse than you bleeding out, because there's nothing to stick up. It's just toast. So it's really weird to see injuries with lightsabers, like when she recovered in the hospital wing or wherever the hell she was. I was like, how?
Yeah, because I think that's isn't that a newer thing? Like, it used to be like a kill shot. You got stabbed, it was a wrap.
Yeah, because that organ or whatever it touched is now like vaporized. Like there's nothing,
exactly.
There ain't nothing left. Like a Bacta tank, which we see in what's that show? Boba Fett. Like we see in the book of Boba Fett, the Bacta tank that he lays in to be healed. That ain't gonna save you from no lightsaber cut. Like there's nothing to regenerate. So unless technology jump leaps and bounds, and there's sensu beans now in Star Wars, I don't know how she recovered from that so quickly.
Because didn't somebody in Obi-Wan get stabbed and came back? Who was that? Was it Reva?
Oh yes. Yeah, Reva got stabbed, didn't she?
Yeah.
I thought she was dead though.
Also, I don't know if I'm just because I'm watching more Star Wars stuff now, but did Ahsoka's droid become more understandable? Like I feel like I could legit make out what he was saying versus like any other time I listen to like a droid talking on the ship. I just don't understand at all.
The droid she was sitting next to in her ship?
Yeah, the one that basically put the tracking device on the other ship.
You're talking about Syndulla.
I'm talking about Chopper.
No, he's talking about CD1 or I think it's a CD.
Syndulla's droid.
Yeah,
I'm talking about Chopper. Yeah,
Chopper, which is from Rebels.
They're all robots. But yeah, I'm like, I understood way more.
Don't disrespect droids like that, man. Relax.
No, man. All your droids look alike.
Wow, you're one of those.
But yes,
in Rebels, Chopper is notorious for being able to communicate. So where R2-D2 is beeps and boops and C-3PO has actual voice, Chopper hums and like whirls and like says, imagine just talking regularly, but like a muffle over your voice. That's
what it felt like. It felt like somebody just said the lines and then they edited it to be less understandable, but still, because there was still tone and inflection.
Yeah, I was like, I can actually understand what he's saying. He's like, where my stuff at? He's like, correct. Look under there. And I was like, I understood what he was saying.
I'm pretty sure I know what he's. Yeah,
And
So-
I'm actually really surprised he's still around because he's technically an older model than R2D2. He's a way older model than R2D2 over here humming and saying things and be like, yes, no, I didn't touch your stuff. It's still over there. Did you check under the battery?
Bro.
Like, yeah.
I hate Chopper. I will say that now. I hate Chopper. Watching Rebels, I'm more of a see. I like my droid to just listen. Whatever I tell you to do, do it. I don't need no back talk. I don't need no opinions. Just like Hu Yang. Hu Yang, I asked Hu Yang for some stuff. He do it. He give me some feedback if I need it. That's great. But Chopper's the main droid that be like, nah, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
He'd be like, Chopper, get the ship ready. Nope, not doing it. You'd be like, nigga, what?
Like, you're a droid.
Yeah, like do what I say. Like that's some. I hate Chopper, bro. He be getting him. I will say he got the rebels out of a lot of shitty situations, but he also caused a lot of shitty situations being stupid.
Yep, he definitely did.
I feel like anytime we have these Star Wars episodes, I think me and Spencer have a bunch of questions because I'm about to ask another question, but I know it's going to take us down like a super long rabbit hole.
I'll cut it short.
Do we know like who some of the first robots and R2D2s like? Do we know who like started creating all these?
I know.
So they've just always existed.
They have not always existed. They have been around, but there's no lore that says, hey, this is the first guy to invent a droid. Nope, there's none of that.
Wow.
That'd be a dope. You know, there is a show. Isn't there a droid show? I've never watched it. I want to say there's a droids thing, but I think it may be old. I don't even know if it's canon. I feel it's on Disney Plus, but
it sounds like you guys need to get on that fan fiction and start writing it.
Start writing. Oh, the original droid.
That would be a fire show, though.
That would. That's kind of all right. So if you look at technology, and this is where we're going to cut it short because we still got some more stuff to talk about in the episode. If you look at technology and how the Star Wars timeline works out, if you just go to BBY, Battle of Yavin, Empire, basically
who's BBY? You just threw those acronyms out like I was supposed to know who BBY was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who's BBL?
BBY is how the timeline goes. BBY stands for
I forgot.
You explained it earlier, man.
Yeah,
Come on, guys.
My bad. I thought it was Roy, like B2D2. Like I some letters out there. Okay, I remember that.
D2, George? Is that D2?
I don't even know. Okay, right. I got you. BBL.
We're gonna let that one slide. So if we just go to like right. So we start at the Battle of Yavin, BBY, which is where time stops, 0, where the Empire is destroyed. Technology then is millions times more subpar than when the Galactic Republic was around. They want to say technology improved. It did not. Hyperspace got a lot easier, but the quality and look of the ships, if you look at episode 3 and then you look at episode 7, the stuff that Anakin had before he turned into Darth Vader versus what Ren was flying in, even with the New Republic ships, they're vastly different. So, and if you go further back into canon, like Knights of the Old Republic, technology was leaps and bounds better than it is right now in this series. So, like, I think droids got worse and then got better. I'm just if you look at canon, it's just like, wait a minute, technology was they were doing a lot more stuff. 700 BBY, 1000 BBY. Like technology was a lot better then than it was right now as we are in Star Wars lore. So droids might have been some crazy things back in the day. Plus you got Assassin's droid, like we saw the HK units, which is a super rare thing. Those HK units that you see fight Ahsoka are only seen in like a video game. I don't think they're anywhere else. They're kind of familiar to the guard droids that General Grievous had in episode 2 with their purple, electric staffs or whatever. But those HK units, those specific designs, are not seen hardly anywhere else.
So it's that one.
Brought them up.
So what about that self-destruct was huge.
I thought the same thing.
Correct.
That was fire.
That self-destruct was massive.
Bro, I thought it was going to be just a quick little explosion, keep it pushing.
A little pew, but no.
That temple gone.
Yeah,
the center of their chest, their core of their chest, which I think is designed to be a bomb because they're assassin droids, kind of reminds me of, I think it's episode 2, where Obi-Wan is chasing Jango Fett and Boba Fett, and Jango Fett releases a EMP type explosive grenade. Like it's a big one because the ship is dropping it off, but their chest pieces look the same, and there are 3 of them right next to each other. You see her look at that, but like, oh, it's time to run.
Yeah, that was fire. Also,
Didn't we already?
oh,
You got
oh
it.
no, my bad. Our last thing, that ship, I forgot what ship it is, what it's called, but Ahsoka ship, that's my favorite ship in Star Wars, other than the probably Millennium Falcon, but that ship is probably my favorite ship.
Whose ship is it?
In Ahsoka ship, one that like turns,
Ahsoka
like the wings turn.
Mm-hmm.
I just forget. I remember the Rebels episode when forgot who actually got it and figured out how to like actually work it because she got it from that dude who built it. But that ship is fire to me. It looks so different than every other Star Wars ship.
It's a Jedi shuttle. It's an old Jedi shuttle.
Gotcha. That thing fire.
So we were talking about assassin droid, and I realized like I ended up like just googling assassin droid. So I guess that IG-88, the one from what show was that he was in that we just watched last?
Mandalorian?
No, the one with
Andor?
Yeah, Andor. Wasn't that an assassin? No, maybe it was Mandalorian. Maybe that was Mandalorian season 1.
Correct. Yeah. Man, it was a Mandalorian. The IG-88, because remember they went back in season 2.
Yeah.
Season 3 to try to get the head to get the information off.
Yeah, he was trying to change it.
So that was an assassin droid as well, right?
Yes.
He pulled up on him in like season 2 or something like that. Trying to kill him.
And then if you go back to Clone Wars, there's a different type of assassin droid which I think looks better, and that looks a problem.
Bro.
Yeah, the assassin droids from the Clone Wars, those things I think they're more dangerous than the ones we had now. Although if you look at how the HKs were walking, they're brutal. They run up, kill you, hug you, like they were trying to smother Sabine.
Is this the first time we heard rock music in a Star Wars thing? Because when she was when that old girl was riding the motorcycle thing and she was banging the rock and roll music, I was like, I don't think I've ever heard rock and roll in like a freaking Star Wars thing.
I think the closest would be the biker gang or speeder gang in Boba Fett. I think that will be the only other time I think I've heard rock music. So it's a nice.
I didn't watch that one.
Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, there's a speeder gang in there that he partners up with, and I think they're listening to a rock type music for Star Wars as well.
That was a cool intro. Sabine, though. She definitely would be listening to rock music.
Yeah, tracks. So, one of the things that we see is Ahsoka's, as you mentioned, her ability to kind of sense what happened in a place, to kind of replay it in her mind when she's in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever she goes to Sabine's house, there was a droid that was there just kind of lingering. Why was that? Like, why was that droid still there?
She didn't kill it.
Yeah. So was it not able to leave? Because it was like up high.
Oh no, the assassin droid was waiting for her to come back.
Yeah.
It didn't have a return protocol. It wasn't ordered to return. She thought she disabled it and went to go fight old girl downstairs, and it got back up. If you notice, the scenes in Mandalorian and in Book of Boba Fett, when they're killing the droids, they're chopping them up and blowing them to pieces. If you just shoot them, they come back. If you don't take their head off, they come back. And sometimes when you take their head off, they're still walking around. So these droids are super resilient. That's why she's like, wait, how many were there?
Right.
We got one blown up, the other one's still there. Assassin's droids are built for, I'm going to get my target no matter what.
Okay, so it was waiting for
whoever.
That's what it was there to do.
Yeah, because it wasn't waiting. I think it was waiting on Sabine, but then Ahsoka showed up. I think, but
because the thing is, I guess it didn't look like a sneak attack to me. It looked like it fell and then Ahsoka killed it. But I guess that was supposed to be a sneak attack, but Ahsoka's too much.
Yes, I think it was meant to be a sneak attack, but of course Ahsoka saw it coming, and she's like, I know you're here. Drop, slice.
Well, yeah, I guess that's why, it looked like the droid didn't mean to do that.
I think it came down slow, but yeah, it did look.
I mean, come on, players fuck up too. Come on now.
Clearly. Okay, and then they use that to find out where to go.
Yeah, go back to Sabine, let her figure it out.
Yeah, they took it back to Sabine. She figures out where they are, and so there was a lot of there was then some just straight up politics type shit with the empire being dissolved and folded into the good guys, and them saying, like, there's no more empire activity. All of these people are just employees. They don't care
I love that
about
scene.
loyalty. Like, yeah, that was good shit.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that, or is there anything there to talk about?
So we see this in God, what was I just watching? Was it Mandalorian? I think it was Mandalorian. So I think it was Mandalorian. I'm doing a callback in my brain here. So when the Empire was destroyed, you got to remember how they set up their structure. The Galactic Republic, for all of its good, was a completely flawed system. They didn't care about their people. They showed they didn't care about their people, and people suffered. People were poor. People were, whatever. The Empire was worse when it came to like discipline, but they were extremely structured. If you worked, you got paid. If you were part of the Empire, you got paid well. Now, you were monitored like crazy, but people like that. If you were in power, you actually had power and could be corrupt and do all these different things. And people got kicks off that. They did. And it's like the experiment where the prison, like regular people are put into a prison, and some people are assigned guards, some people are assigned prisoners, and that experiment turned out with people killing each other, and it was terrible. But that's how the Empire worked out. So you have these employees that are just employees. They don't care. They just want to get paid, that are loyal to that power structure because they crave it. Right. They were allowed to be greedy. They were allowed to be abusive. They were allowed to do this and that. It's like the worst of the worst of the worst of people the Empire brought out. Pure Sith, like pure dark side energy was flowing everywhere. Stuff is addicting. Like being a good guy in the Star Wars universe is a rare thing, because when dark side energy is everywhere, that's just how it's how it gotta be. It's gotta be.
I will say that entire scene, I loved it because it reminded me of Andor. Like, it reminded me of like very much like politics. And like you mentioned, like Andor is kind of more Empire. Like you saw, like you had to have credits. Like if you was walking by, they check you like, "Wait, what are you doing here?" You know what I mean? It was very like structured. So that whole scene was dope to me. And like the hell, he just first of all, it's a Jedi there. So why the hell would you think you could pull out a gun and shoot a Jedi? Like that was just stupid as hell.
Yeah, they
for the Empire. Like, nigga, you
about
to die.
Really
who announces things before they shoot? I just, you know what?
I will say, I hate that trope. Like, they announce it right before they do it.
Nobody with a gun can aim in Star Wars.
Not in Star Wars.
For real, not in Star Wars.
That's facts.
Oh man,
have we talked about the people in the clan hoodies? Do we know who they are? The two people in the hoods. Obviously Ahsoka was fighting on them.
Balin
that's who they
apprentice?
were. Yeah, Balin is apprentice. Mm-hmm.
I don't know these people's names, bro. They got some names on them, like Webby said.
And I don't remember what her name was. I just kept calling her Darth Sia because she had like the Sia haircut.
Yeah, she did.
I think her name is
Well, Spencer got a nickname for everybody.
He be rolling them out. I think her name is Shin. I'm pretty sure it's Shin. I'd probably have to look again, but
that's fine.
Yeah, the people
Sia for right now.
Well, there we go. Well, Darth Sia and my boy Balin are mercenaries currently. All they do is, and that's why you see the lightsabers are red. They don't fight for pure intentions. They are not Jedi. So when your heart is corrupted, the dark side takes you. Your kyber crystal will turn. It turned. They're not Sith by any means. I would not call them Sith. I would just call them mercenaries. They are force-sensitive mercenaries. That's what that is. And you see that. People that survive Order 66, they go into that type of work. That happens. I mean, you got skill set. I mean, you're saying I'm just trying to get paid out here. But I imagine, and this is just a foreshadow, if Thrawn comes back and decides to empower them, the rule of two will be active again.
Yeah.
Of course, how his turns out, but I'm just saying we could see that. We could possibly see that.
I like how, like, Balin, like when she told him Ahsoka's coming, she was like, "Oh, it's unfortunate. Like, I don't want to have to kill a Jedi." You know what I mean? Like, that's how you could kind of tell. Okay, they ain't all the way Sith. Like, they not all the, you know what I mean? They respect the Jedi way and all that stuff. So
correct.
That was cool to see.
I was in that same boat. Like, whenever he said, it'd be a shame to kill her because there aren't many Jedi left. I was like, the fact
Exactly.
that you feel that way lets me know that you are not a Darth.
Right.
No, there's no, it's not really evil. It is corruption, but it ain't really like a sense of evil. The right and wrong is like, ah, man, that's really inconvenient. I don't want to kill one of my own.
Right.
But you know,
Yeah,
if
like the fact that they're still his own.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah, like,
good point. Good point to his character.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, yeah, I like that.
David, I do have a question. The Hu Yang, I did like the part where he explained like the lightsabers, because I was always like the different type of lightsabers and all that. Did he create? Was he a part in creating a lot of lightsabers, or like obviously he just takes the crystal and like builds them, I guess?
No, not at all. So this was an episode in Clone Wars. In the later parts, we jumped to a young group of younglings that are being trained by Yoda. I'm trying to recall the whole episode in my head. It was a really good one, actually. You had a little Wookiee youngling. You had like different type of races, and Yoda takes them to this planet to have them search out for their kyber crystals, the ones that call out to them, and then return with their new kyber crystals. Upon returning with the kyber crystals, they hop back in the ship because while they're holding it, their force ability is being imbued on the kyber crystal. They're making it theirs. They're bonding. It's a whole thing. They come back to the Jedi Temple, and there's a droid there. Like, how do you say this man's name? Somebody say it again.
Hu Yang.
Hu Yang.
Hu Yang. There we go.
Su Young.
So, yeah.
That was a good reference.
Will be waiting for the younglings to come back and teaching them how to assemble their hilt, how to assemble the crystal, the battery, all of it together.
Okay. Now that you've explained that episode, I literally see it in my head. Okay, I forgot all about that one.
They come back to the temple, and the droid teaches you how to physically put it together.
Yeah.
And then eventually you have to force put it together.
That's
you'll look at all the pieces with the force and assemble it and disassemble it, almost like assembling and disassembling a gun. Like it's the same thing. He was one of the droids that taught the younglings.
That makes sense. Okay. That makes sense.
Let me ask, do you think how many episodes is this? Six episodes, right? Do you think the Mandalorian is gonna show up? Because I feel like Disney has been like trying to put him in every show.
I don't. It's supposed to be 8 episodes, but don't.
Oh, is it 8?
I thought.
I think it's 8.
Wow. Oh,
I
don't know.
I don't really want him to show up. I think
I was going to ask you that.
I think I would interfere with his own storyline at this point. Like when Ahsoka showed up, that made sense. When Luke showed up, that made sense. But at this point of Ahsoka's journey, because she's already done that, it would be a waste, and it wouldn't make sense canonically with what's going on. So, do I think Disney will do it? Probably. They like doing stuff like that. Do I think it may hurt the story? Definitely, unless more detail. Because we're talking about extragalactic travel, traveling to a completely different galaxy. He ain't gonna be there. How you gonna show up? Oh, hey, we're in a portal into the Mando. Oh, look, Boba's here. Like that, those crossover episodes where they just so happen to be there. Yeah, that I don't think that should happen. So good.
I mean, with Sabine being a Mandalorian, you could kind of you could stretch it. Yeah, you could stretch to like some way or another. A Mando clan was out there and they pulled up on. You ain't
gonna catch that girl saying this is the way. Ain't no way.
I mean, that's true.
They
might pull up on her. She be taking her helmet off.
There's gonna be something related with Grogu. Watch.
Huh?
I hope they
something
don't.
related.
If he shows up,
I'd be more mad about that than Mando. Mando, I'd be like, all right.
What is Grogu, the baby doing here?
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? We're just trying to sell toys at this point.
I was going to say he's going to have a whole new outfit just so they can sell more toys.
You already know, bro.
Yeah, time skip Grogu right there. Time skip Grogu.
Yeah.
So, I have another question.
Okay.
Kind of going through the second episode. What is the Eye of Sion?
The Eye of Sion is a callback to a Children's of the Force story, I think, if I remember that correctly. It's been a long time since I've read anything like that. But when they said Eye of Sion, my brain lit up. Like, I've read this somewhere. It's a callback to a children's story about a mystical ship. Now, the ship that they show out there is a piece of pre-Old Republic technology. As you see the hyperdrive that they transport is massive. It belonged to a Star Destroyer. As like, if you look at the Star Destroyer, they're shaped like a triangle. In the back are like the three main thrusters. That hyperdrive is about the size of the middle one, the biggest one. So the Eye of Sion is I'm assuming, a ship that's capable of galactic travel with multiple hyperdrives on it. But yeah, that's a callback to an old piece of literature. I think it's like a children's story or something like that. It's not a legit children's story, Eye of Sion, but like what characters in Star Wars would tell their kids about the Eye of Sion, like that type of children's story or whatever.
Also dealing with Darth Sion.
Darth Sion?
Just deal with it. I just googled Eye of Sion and this person popped up. Darth Sion.
Possibly. Like I don't have a whole lot of information on the Eye of Sion.
I feel like is the Eye of the Sun a thing? Obviously, they like you said, they put the hyperdrive in. I feel like we saw that. I don't know why I feel like Obi-Wan.
Because if you start episode 3, that's what they use, a version of the Eye of Sion. Like that whole ship is called the Eye of Sion. In episode 3, the Jedi cruisers or the Jedi fighters, they're Jedi fighters that they use for battle in space, have their own separate hyperdrive Eyes of Sion. Sit out in space, they go and dock to it, and that's how they do hyperspace travel, which I think is a bit ridiculous considering how great technology is. But that's what they use. So they have to travel a great distance, like from one side of the galaxy to a complete other side of the galaxy. Then yes, they'll use that to travel. And the Eye of Sion is built just like that. So yes, that's another thing I got when I first saw it too. I'm like, so the big ship in the middle is supposed to show up, or how does it work?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because I was like, I know I've seen this before. But yeah, I definitely prefer when they just hit the gear and hit the hyperdrive. But I get it.
Is that the scene? Is that the scene where they like hit it and then you just see like stars like start to like go real past them? Okay.
Yeah, they're entered light speed travel, which that's the only way you get through travel in the galaxy is light speed anyway. And if you have to do a long trip, instead of seeing stars, you see like this rainbow effect around you, saying that you're like in hyperspace, because hyperspace is not actual space, it's subspace, and that's how you travel.
That's how you see them whales.
Yes. So those whales, there are a couple of creatures in Star Wars lore, and we saw them in Rebels. That means we're probably going to see them here in Ahsoka. I hope they do. That'd be a terrible mishap to not bring those back. That's how those creatures are some of the rare creatures that can travel through hyperspace just naturally. Their bodies just do it. They jettison. Like how a squid moves through water. That's how they travel through space. Their tentacles grab space and push it behind them as they float, which makes no sense.
Oh, that actually sounds kind of cool.
Right. Makes it seem like space in ocean.
Yeah. We saw him in was it Mandalorian? Like he's traveling in hyperspace and you see some whales in the background.
Oh yeah. You do see him in the background. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm still halfway through season 2.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Yeah.
There are too many shows.
There's too many shows.
There are too many shows.
I mean, I'm a fan of Star Wars, so I'm gonna say
we watched Secret Invasions, bro. Like, there's no excuse. We watched Secret Invasions. True. You could tap into Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Okay. So all of the, I guess, evil folk that we see, is it pretty safe to assume that they were hired by Lady Morgan?
Yes, because Lady Morgan was a magistrate and then had ties to a bunch of money, which doesn't make sense if you think about how she was introduced in Mandalorian. But she has a bunch of money and a bunch of sponsors, which I'm imagining are these warlords, like we saw in The Mandalorian, that are providing funds for all these things to happen to bring back Commander Thrawn. Man, super respected in the Empire. And
should we talk about Thrawn now?
Yeah, if you want to talk about Thrawn. Well. Because the whole goal of this has to be to bring him back from wherever he was, quote unquote, banished to.
Right.
He was tough.
Let me go ahead and Google him, see what it looks like.
I
was trying to avoid it.
You've seen Game of Thrones, right?
Right.
So think of like I always think of Thrawn like a Tywin Lannister, right? Tywin Lannister's like the Lannister's dad, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Super smooth, calculated, don't think out of emotions. He's always like 2 steps ahead of everybody.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
kind of what Thrawn is. Like, dude is just
Gotcha.
always ahead of everybody. He don't. Dave, you correct me if I'm wrong. Like, he don't be like. He's not like the bad guy where he like literally does it himself. He's more of like I'm 3 steps ahead of you. Now you've been caught into a trap that I set a long time ago, or something like that.
I think you guys posted on the Facebook page, create your own Sith trope or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, Palpatine and Thrawn, without any of the other Force users, like just give me Palpatine and Thrawn, and the rebellion's over with. It truly is. I mean, nobody else messing it up though. Between Palpatine's manipulation and Thrawn's cunning, like there's no winning. Palpatine's 17 steps ahead where your negatives are his positives. He can flip it. And Thrawn is thinking about the other 17 steps in the opposite direction. So, like, ain't no winning with those two. He's a genius tactician. Genius.
That's
why I like him so much.
Dang, Spencer, we messed up.
How so?
When we has the episode come out yet? The blue, when we talked about our blue characters, that one hasn't dropped yet, huh?
No, we have not. We have
this
not
guy-
dropped that yet.
Thrawn better be on that list. You can get a comment from me.
Right.
I have not seen Thrawn, so I learned right now that he's blue.
Yes. Thrawn
yeah,
is a part of
trailers.
a race of people called the Chiss, Chiss. They are known for blue skin and red eyes. He's got black hair.
Oh, Mystique.
Yes.
It sounds like he looks like Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
I'm Nightcrawler.
Mystique,
Nightcrawler got yellow eyes. Come on now.
Think about that, but give him
But
red eyes.
Mystique doesn't have black hair.
She has whatever hair she wants when she feels like it.
Yeah, man, come on now. She can do what she want to.
But yeah, he literally worked his way up to being an officer, and
They called him Grand Admiral, so
that's the top of the top.
Yeah, and so I was,
what did we say? Is that the same title we gave the last person?
No, he was
the last episode we did.
He was the Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is the Grand Admiral.
Yeah, totally different.
Is it just is levels to it? Like who's above who?
So technically, if you have, let's just use Palpatine. If you have Palpatine at the top as the Emperor, the Grand Admiral is in charge of the entire space fleet. The Grand Inquisitor is in charge of all Inquisitors and capturing Jedis and killing babies and all these different heavy evil things.
But when were these characters created? Like, how come we haven't seen them in anything like any of the movies? Were they created after the movies? I assume.
As far as
Thrawn.
like media goes,
media.
Yeah, so you in the originals, you're not going to see them because they were created after that. Thrawn's character,
okay, that's what I figured.
Showed up in like the 70s, 80s, or something like that. So he's a part of newer canon compared to the original trilogy. He's not an OG character.
Right, gotcha.
It sounds like Thrawn is the CFO, and the Grand Inquisitor is like the COO.
They don't interact.
Yeah, the Emperor is more
correct.
the Emperor is like the founder. Grand Admiral is like the CEO of operations or whatever.
CEO, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then kind of on the same level, but they don't interact at all. Is that Grand Inquisitor, which at this time I guess is not even really a thing.
Oh yeah.
Nope, he's dead. He should be dead.
So, do you think now that we have Ahsoka, let's say the show ends, do you think Rosario Dawson's character will be transitioning to the movies?
I would
like
hope so. If we're looking forward to new Star Wars movies, I would hope so. I do not think that's going to be a thing. I'm pretty sure Disney is going in a complete different direction, unless they just show up with an Ahsoka movie, which would be interesting because it'd be nothing but a filler episode. If you think about anime, it'd be a filler movie. We already have the time, so
because Ahsoka's dead, right?
Oh yeah, she did that.
That's why she was in episode 9. David talked about it.
He literally talked about it.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
You don't be
listening. Play the tape, Jordan.
There's damn questions. Don't listen.
There's so much going through my mind right now. This is all new information for me. This is overload. I forgot. Okay, you did say that.
I'm gonna buy you an encyclopedia, Jordan. I'm gonna buy you an encyclopedia with all this knowledge and just give you some homework assignments.
Yeah, we gotta use some episode homework sometimes. I will say, all right, I only know this because I follow the production part. I think the goal is for it to be a Avengers style Star Wars movie, right? Thrawn, I think obviously Thrawn's gonna come back obviously in this show, right?
Right.
And then you make a big movie. I don't know how they're gonna get there. I think they're gonna do another Mando season before they do the movie, but the movie is kind of ties in Mando, Ahsoka.
So they
who else
are
is up?
creating a movie.
Yeah.
A filler episode movie. Well, I mean, okay. All right.
I mean, it ain't gonna be a filler. It's gonna be like the final. Again, it's like in game for Star Wars almost. Now, you could say, like more than me, but that was like the goal is for Dave Filoni to have kind of his like in game level movie,
like Netflix did with the Marvel shows. Then, because remember they had the 4 shows, and then they threw the Defenders in there.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. That's right.
Just like extra movie level. But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So wait, who would be in there? So Ahsoka, Mando.
I'm trying to think who else. I'm trying to think who else who's even around in this timeline. To be honest, Ezra.
Ezra. So if they do this right, Ezra comes back, and if Ezra comes back, that means the rest of the Rebel team comes back.
Exactly.
You have the Republic military because now old girl's a general, so that's dope. Wow, that's gonna be So that means at the end of Ahsoka, if what you're saying is correct, and the timeline's gonna work out with Thrawn coming back with some other Imperial warlords with their own little miniature whatever, fighting off against Ahsoka, Mando, possibly Boba with a hey man.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, I was gonna say possibly Boba. Yeah.
This is what it feels like. I guess normal people feel when we get to talking a whole bunch of nerd shit. I have no idea what we're talking about.
This is nerd shit.
I know, but I feel like I'm that normal person that like it's happening to me. Like you guys are just spewing out words. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck they talking about.
Bro, this is you being a casual now, bro.
I know this is what it feels like. I got you.
You act like we named like fucking
he doesn't know any better. He does not know.
We're naming Mando. You know who that is. You know who Boba Fett is.
Yeah, but I barely know Boba Fett.
When he was in the movies, he was before Mando.
I know. Well, he was one in the green, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that the one who had a son?
No, that's the one in the blue. The one in the green is the son, which is not technically.
Oh man, I love it, bro.
And you guys were talking about Ezra. Like only Ezra I know is Miller, so I know he ain't showing up.
On the
definitely showing up
on the LMG podcast. I think we need to have another segment. I know we got wrestling. I know we got DC. We're about to have some more anime. I think we need school time sessions with Jordan. That's what we need. School time sessions with Jordan. Where we just catch Jordan up on everything.
Yeah, I definitely
that would actually be pretty fun, honestly.
Well, now David, I mean, if you have interest in.
Yeah, I know, dude. Yeah,
you just fell into a trap, my boy.
We have an opening.
Well, guys, thanks for listening to the podcast.
Yeah. We have an opening. You don't have to apply. This is about the who you know versus what
you've already interviewed. So
yeah,
good.
We're just waiting on the paperwork.
If you want to be a part of the LMG podcast network,
yeah,
it is a network.
I'm sure people would love that.
All right, guys, comment on Facebook if you want me to have my own podcast, and we'll see where we go from there. Now,
bro, I guarantee if we put a poll up and ask that question, I guarantee you 100% people be like, yeah, let's do it.
I don't know. If you got enough listeners, you're going to have to do a competition between me and Mr. Personal.
Oh, no, he admits you blow him out the water.
Oh, that's not fair.
Hey, I might even pass David.
What?
Ooh,
Mr. Percival. Yeah, David. Yeah, Mr. Percival. I said it.
Oh no!
Ooh, that might be a little controversial. What's
the
Eric Andre? The Eric Andre is like, whoa! Why would you say something so controversial? But yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. So I got a question for y'all. In the second part of what I'm assuming is going to be considered episode 1, what did you guys notice about the interactions between Morgan and her mercenaries? And specifically, what I want to reference is the scene when they were on that planet when she opened the map, and the scene where they were in the ship. Because to me, I don't know if you guys got the same thing, maybe just the inner nerd in me. Did you guys seem like they had a employer-employee type of relationship, or is it more of we're going to do what we need to and then take advantage of this when it suits us? Because it seems like Balin's playing a long game instead of what you do is get paid.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Because I mean, even when he asked her, he was like, "Jedi didn't build this. Like, what is this?" And that's when she kind of revealed who she was. Yeah, it definitely seems like an employer type of dynamic where like the employee don't really have many details on who she is or what all she's doing. They know her plan, but they don't know who she is and how she's able to do all this stuff. And yeah, I think they're definitely like, "Hey, we're gonna get this job, we're gonna get this bag, but as soon as Thrawn come back, like we gonna get in there, get in good with him, and forget about her."
It felt like the apprentice was real skeptical.
Yeah,
And the apprentice was like, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I trust
Yeah.
this lady. And Balin
yeah,
was like, shut the fuck up. We got shit to do.
yeah. He was sending her on
Yes.
errands, man. He like, "Go to the grocery store, come back."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
I
what
will
she
say,
says. But yeah, like, she was like, she's a witch.
you're right,
We just cool
we
with
should
that?
not trust you.
right.
Yeah, I got that same feeling Spencer just said.
I will say though, the whole trope of sending the apprentice off to go do some stuff and they normally fail and come back. They didn't do that. That girl was successful. She 2 for 2.
Yeah,
She gets shit
she
done.
showed up, got stuff done, and left. And I was like, oh, okay.
yeah.
She a problem.
How'd y'all feel about the lightsaber fight between Sabine and that apprentice?
That one, honestly, like, I felt like that one was just okay because then we saw Ahsoka go 2-on-1 with.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah,
yo, Ahsoka, come on now, get the first fight out the way. Let's go and get it
Yeah,
out
like,
the way
get the
for
droid.
Ahsoka
Yeah,
to
like
come through.
stop. Yeah, like let. And then when he double sided, I was like, okay, now we're about to do something.
yeah,
I was like, you know what we're here for.
yeah.
I'm waiting
Yeah,
for
He
Ahsoka
thought it
to
was
also-
show
gonna
up.
be. He forgot who he was fighting for a second. Then he's like, oh, I might want to take this seriously.
Yeah,
Or I might
let me get the second one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me go ahead and turn this other side on because it's not looking good.
yeah.
And yeah, and again, she was just toying with him.
She really was. She really was.
He used the freaking HK droid as a shield.
Bro,
In
that was
between
so
them.
fire to me.
I was like, oh my
Bruh.
god.
They was fighting around the droid. I was like, that's fire.
And see, that's the thing. I feel like the one between Darth Sia and Sabine was just okay because I then immediately saw the one with Ahsoka and the
Yeah,
Inquisitor, and that one I was like, "Ooh, this is what I'm here for.
yeah, that's tough.
This is what I like to see."
That's
So,
tough.
Yeah,
That is a problem. I mean, she did defeat Darth Maul 1-on-1.
Yep.
We know that boy killed Qui-Gon.
She gave Vader, you know what I mean, straight
He
up
did
hand
give
to
Vader
hand.
a little run for her money.
Yeah.
He was hurt. Even though she lost, he was hurt.
Yeah, he was.
He
He
messed
was.
him up.
And I thought that was a great way to introduce like Hera and Chopper because they had to go, obviously chase down the hyperdrive or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was really cool. I can't wait to see Ghost.
Oh
Bro,
my
I was
God.
pissed. We didn't get to see the ship.
No, we
Man,
didn't.
because Spencer Jordan, like the ship that Hera was in, that's like the small ship that attaches to the big ship called Ghost, and that's like the classic ship for the Rebels. And so I'm excited to see when they like really show that ship. It's just iconic. They used it all throughout Rebels, so it just has a lot of lure.
I would love to see them back in the main area where they all used to talk and see
Oh
Sabine
yeah,
covered in spray paint and stuff. Like that would be a great
that'd be
throwback.
tough. That'd be tough.
So, and I'm asking this question just because I don't know anything. So we kind of talked about the org chart for the Empire. Syndulla kept being referred to as the general. General of what?
I don't know, because in the Galactic Republic, and even in the Old Republic, and I'm sorry, the Galactic Republic, and then the New Republic, the titles are pretty much the same. Like when you go back to Clone Wars, you had Commander Cody, you had Commander this, you had Commander Kenobi, Commander Skywalker. There are no official titles that say you are the general of ground troops. You're the general of whatever. You have just now been promoted to title general, and that is it. And there's a bunch of
Yeah.
generals.
And I asked that question because she said, "What the fuck you mean clearance? I'm the general."
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about
Is
now.
she the general of the fleet or the general of? Because she's obviously just really good at flying.
From what I saw and what I know in Rebels, I don't know what the hell she's a general of. Because when we see her, yeah, she's in like a what do you call it? A regular command-esque type area, but we don't know what that's over. She could be a general of a fleet for all we know. But a general of a fleet doesn't have high access security clearance. Like that's
Yeah, that part I was
admirals. Admirals are higher than generals. So
yeah,
if she was
Yeah,
an
like-
admiral, I'd be like, okay, well, I see why. But she's a general, so that's not.
Well, and that's
Yeah.
kind of why I was asking, because I noticed, like, I didn't know if the ranking system was different, but she was acting like she had grand in front of her title,
yeah,
Correct.
but she didn't.
yeah,
No.
and
No.
that's kind of because it felt like the general of the Air Force was talking to somebody at the White House and like, no, I got clearance over everything. It's like, no, you're the general of the Air Force. That don't mean you got clearance to literally all things. You know what I mean? And that's kind of how I felt. I was like, I don't know about that.
If you think about characters like just a throwback to the original trilogy, Admiral Akbar, the guy that says Spenser trap. Like if that guy showed up, he's like, hey, I want to see this. I have clearance. Well, he's an admiral. He is the admiral or one of the main ones. So he's got access. But you got to remember, guys, it's all smoke and mirrors too, because old boy was still part of that secret faction of Empire sympathists.
Yeah.
So he could take classified and be lying straight to your face, and then for the Empire die.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but okay. I was just kind of wondering what general meant, and it sounds like it don't mean shit.
It don't mean shit. It don't mean.
I found like a org chart of the Galactic Empire, and yeah, I don't really see general like that.
Look up a org chart for the New Republic, because I think that's technically what she's a part of. Is the New Republic.
Gotcha.
I want to say fleet. I mean, but who knows? They didn't even give it like a specific.
I think it was just filler, just to introduce her, honestly. Because if you think about that scene, as she flies off to try and catch that thing, if she's a general and she's sending out a command, I was sitting here watching the episode like, wait a minute, why don't you just say we have a code red, scramble jets, scramble whatever, get this thing off the air? Right.
Well, I figured it was like an urgent situation and like somebody wouldn't have been able to get up there in time, so she just had to,
Yeah, she said she had to get it. She had to get to it before it hit.
The atmosphere.
I thought it was a time sensitive situation, and that's why she didn't call for anybody, because she didn't. They would have taken too long to get there or something. Like that's what I took that to mean.
Yeah,
that makes sense, but it just shows you how unprepared they are, and that makes me irritated.
So okay. So the Republic.
But also, she was under the impression that the Empire had actually been dissolved.
Right. Had not. Yeah.
So the Republic are the good guys, right?
Yes.
Relative, but yes.
Okay, so it says Princess Leia is the president of the Senate.
Currently,
and they kind of got her. Okay, so yeah, she kind of got the highest, but she's also tied with the Admiral Akbar, the Supreme Commander.
Yep.
Okay, I see the general now. I got you.
So technically, she should be in charge of the Senate in the New Galactic Republic till she leaves to go become an admiral when we have the sequel trilogy show up. So right now, Leia is in charge. Luke is out here supposedly training younglings and starting a new Jedi Order. Leia is in the New Galactic Republic in the New Republic, trying to get everybody set up and organized. So this is before Snoke and before the, all that other stuff.
What was Snoke's position?
Snoke was the other shadowy figure in the sequel trilogy.
Oh yeah.
Guy pulling the string.
The big head dude.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Do we think, because the rumor is Anakin is in this show. He's gonna show up at some point.
He is. They're gonna have a flashback.
Yeah, okay. I was like, is it gonna be a flashback or is it gonna be I'm sure it's gonna be a flashback of when he was when she was his Padawan, but I didn't know how that would work.
I was under the impression that it would only be flashbacks because this is taking place between episodes 6 and 7. So Correct. It is my understanding that Anakin's dead.
Correct. He's a Force ghost that can talk to her. He can communicate with Ahsoka as he currently is. He is returned back to the light in a Force ghost, so he can talk to her. And I don't know if they're going to do that, but the throwback episodes, from what I've seen in the pictures of like just sneak peeks or whatever, yeah, it's all gonna be throwback. Same the way they did in Kenobi.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I feel like he had his. Yeah, that's true. So that would be dope. That'd be dope to see.
And for people who don't know, Vader died a good guy, right? Basically.
Correct.
Right.
He had his,
Okay,
redemption arc at the last minute.
Get a
Okay,
baby
that's what I
first turn. Yeah.
Dude, once an episode, you have to make a wrestling. You just have to make a wrestling reference.
Hey man,
I
I'm
don't.
trying to educate
I don't
you.
understand
You've been
it.
slow
Like-
on this whole Star Wars stuff, so I gotta throw something out there you understand. You know
Every
what I'm saying?
episode, there's always some wrestling reference. I'm just like, you have to do it.
That's,
You have to do it.
That's podcast promotion right there.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
it.
so. Okay, this is a cool little breakdown though of the org chart. I didn't realize there's so many titles within a New Republic. But,
It is
yeah.
easy to get lost in lore in Star Wars. I promise you.
Yeah.
Seems like I'm something I would be into, but Star Wars is kind of trash, low key. But
This is not
nah,
the
I'm just
episode
playing.
to say
Nah,
that
I'm
on.
just
Man,
playing.
y'all looking for another melanated gentleman to join this regular podcast, Jordan? On Star Wars, I may have to force choke you. I don't know.
As long as you don't see
Wow.
my little wire coming up. I'm just saying though, there's no reason we shouldn't have seen a wire in episode. Did y'all see it? Like after the
I
I didn't go
actually-
back to see it.
I'm gonna go back and watch it to see if I can see. You said 5 minutes, 22 seconds.
5 minutes 22 seconds. You'll see it twice.
Part one?
That's episode 1.
Okay.
It's that's terrible. Like I said, I like to think I'm the first person who noticed it in the world, but yeah.
Brandon was out here calling a movie budget.
Yeah.
It was a
you're
movie
right.
budget, bro.
You're right. It's a movie on Tubi. The way I seen that
Oh
wire.
no!
You wild. I bet you wouldn't have been a wire too. I bet you used to get a
Oh
wire.
no, it was definitely a wire. It was definitely a wire.
Well, Disney might
cool, man.
hear this episode and edit that out.
They've done it before.
That would be if they did that. I would say if they did that, that would be wild. If they went back and did that.
So, yeah, the LMG podcast got strings they can pull.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. We had that type of pool.
Strings.
That's
Yeah,
fire.
there you go.
That is Spencer.
So, anything else on these 2 episodes?
Fire. I'm excited to see where it goes. Hopefully it stays at this pace and even revs up more. It gives us even more. But
What's your pre-finish rating so far? Basically, just like we'll do pre-finish and post-op. Pre-finish.
Oh man,
should we do like a prediction of the rating?
Yeah, why not?
let me mark these down somewhere.
Okay. I can go first. I think this show, so like to me, Obi-Wan was like overall was like a solid 7. You know what I mean? Gave us enough classic moments to it was like, okay, this is worth it. Mando was cool. Latest season was probably like 7.5. This one, bro, it's just too easy. It's too many layups. And then you got Filoni. You know what I mean? This is his baby.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might be messing with 8.5.
I'm gonna give this an 8 because it gave me a lot of the stuff that I would want in a Star Wars thing. We saw some political bullshit. We saw some lightsaber goodness.
Oh, political bullshit.
We saw somebody with a gun who can't aim. We saw droids being surprisingly sarcastic and just like this is what I want if I'm going to watch a Star Wars thing. So it gave me all those things. I don't know what the rest of it's going to look like. I would give it an 8, and I feel like 8 is how I'm going to feel through this thing. So yeah, I predict that I will give it an 8 at the end. Or I predict that it will be an 8 at the end.
Gotcha.
I think for me, these Disney Plus shows, they start really well, and then towards that back end, they can kind of tailor off. So I'm going to give it an optimistic 7.5. I feel like episodes 4, 3, and 4 could be trash. Maybe 5 and 6 can pick it up. So I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
All right, that takes fair. So if they stick with Ahsoka, like fight scenes with Ahsoka, interactions with Ahsoka, if they stick with Ahsoka and don't completely go into the deep end of Rebels, I'm gonna give it an 8.7.
Whoa. You either got ain't no 0.7s. You gotta get an 8.5 or straight up 0, 8 point something 0.
8.5 or straight up 0. Who made these rules?
8.5 or 9.
Yeah, 8.5 or 9. You can't get the 0.7s now. What you doing, man?
There ain't no 8.76232. I can't do that.
No, what is you doing, baby? No, man, you can't do that.
Fine, I will give it an 8.5.
Now, stick by that.
If they don't stick with Ahsoka and they deep off into the Rebels and make it a continuation of Star Wars Rebels, it's going to drop down to a 4. Because that means that
whoa.
You gotta give one answer. This guy, David.
Oh no, I get my answer 8.5. Write it down, jot it down.
That's blasphemous.
That's a wide gap.
That's blasphemous, dude.
But the expectation I have as a Star Wars purist, if you're gonna title the show Ahsoka, make it about Ahsoka.
I said the same thing with Moon Knight. So I feel now you have expectations of it, and then they don't deliver. You're like, what the fuck, bro? Why you name it that then?
Now I have all the confidence in the world in this director, but I'm just being a cynic, a bit of a cynic.
My thing is, she was part of the Rebels, so.
Nah, she was not a part of the Rebels.
So you don't want Ezra to have an episode.
Oh, Ezra's coming. Ezra's gonna be here full force. This will be a Star Wars Rebel thing. But
I know Ezra's gonna be here, but you don't want Ezra to have his own. Like you need this to stay Ahsoka.
I need this to stay Ahsoka because when Ahsoka showed up in Rebels, it changed the show for better. But if you go call a show this, I'm not trying to have Ahsoka and the Rebel. It's like, what's that movie called with the Temptations? Is it called The Temptations? Yeah, it's called The Temptations.
The 5 Heartbeats?
Nah, David Ruffin and the Temptations is what it's gonna be if it's Ahsoka and the Rebels. Nah, I want just David Ruffin. I want my own solo show of Ahsoka. That's it.
Because nobody come to see Otis.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This might be a hot take here, but let's be honest, bro. The Rebels enhanced. And I'm gonna do another wrestling reference, my nigga. But Ahsoka joined a faction that was already on fire, and then enhanced her. Let's not act like Ahsoka came out of was just the hottest thing. Ahsoka hit her prime. Ahsoka got her main popularity from joining Rebels.
Damn.
So I'm just saying, we
can't look at Brandon schooling them.
I'm just saying, like it needs to. If it's both, I'm happy. I'm not. I've seen other people have David's opinion on this. Like they wanted to just be Ahsoka.
They old and bitter, huh, Brandon? Tell them.
No, they just wanted to go on her own little journeys, and it's just like, no, bro. We know why she's this popular. We know why she got her own show.
My young Padawan. Let me.
Damn, he called you a Padawan. You gonna take that?
Let me
shut your ass up.
Jordan just over here trying to just make everything worse. Instigating for why?
Don't know what we talking about.
Call you a Padawan.
My young Padawan, hear me out for a second. The reason the lore caught up with Rebels and Ahsoka is because Ahsoka was leading this underground organization called Fulcrum way before she joined up with that ragtag team. So,
I know about Fulcrum. Fulcrum was just it was like a throwing name out there. Fulcrum. Who's Fulcrum? Fulcrum. We don't know who Fulcrum is. She shows up. She kicks it with Sabine. She kicks it with Ezra. She kicks it with Hera. She kicks it with the rest of them. She builds a relationship with Chopper. Like that gave you the star power of who Ahsoka was. Before that, it was just like, all right, you Anakin's little, you know what I mean, grocery run person.
You said? Damn.
No. Jordan,
shut up, bro.
Jordan, we're gonna need another poll on the Facebook site. Go ahead and pop a poll up there for me real quick. Ahsoka, Clone Wars Ahsoka or Rebels Ahsoka? Let's go ahead and put it up there. Let the people decide.
Yeah, let the people decide, man.
We're gonna do that then.
The question that I have, I've heard that in Boba Fett there is an episode, or there's a group of episodes that are pretty much just Mandalorian episodes.
Yep.
It's the final battle scene. Yeah.
So you're saying that is what you do not want them to do?
So in Boba Fett, which is an amazing series, when the Mando showed up, it made sense.
I've not heard that.
I was like, really?
I heard the opposite. Yeah,
that it did make sense for Mando to be there.
No, it's an amazing series.
The show got better.
That's
it was
what
better when what's called pulled up.
Yeah, that's my hot take. My personal opinion. I love the Book of Boba Fett. I thought it was great. It was corny in a lot of areas, but overall, as a story, I think it was fine.
Okay.
It was a redemption arc for Boba. It's from going that lone to being now in control of people. You see a full turn. He's an older man. He wants nothing to do with his old lifestyle, but he's still a badass. Like, I thought that was cool. They messed up my dude Cad Bane though, and I was pissed off about that. But that's fine. But I thought it was solid. But no, I don't want to see Ahsoka turn into a giant cameo Avengers at the end. I personally do not. I would like to see it in a Kenobi style of Ahsoka doing the battling, a reunion with Ezra, her finishing off Thrawn. I would love to see all those things. But I have a feeling the world is going to turn out exactly how Brandon predicted. And we're going to have this giant crossover throwback episode of Thrawn has escaped. Ezra's back. Somebody else is going to die in between now and then. We got the crew back. We're going to assemble this big thing and go after Thrawn in one giant feature-length film. Congratulations, dude.
That's what you need.
David sound old and bitter. Brandon is the young, newer model.
Bro. You can't be like Thrawn is this big mega threat and then kill him off in the end of an episode by one person. Come on, man. You gotta put the full crew back together to go defeat this big time threat.
Have you watched anime? Sometimes they be doing that.
Yeah, that's why I watch anime.
Brandon doesn't believe in anime.
That's why I watch anime, man.
You know what? We need Star Wars anime. That'll make him come over.
Oh, I've been saying that. I told him he should check out Visions because there were a couple episodes on Visions that felt like a anime.
Yeah, I'll watch that. But yeah, I'm excited. I think if we especially get the Rebels reunion, or if it goes just Ahsoka, whichever. Either way, I think it'll be fun. But
multiple seasons coming for sure.
Yeah.
David, the League of Melanated Gentlemen, thanks you for your time.
Of course, good stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate it for sure. Well, if there isn't anything else, we have our little saying: "We're never duplicated.
Always appreciate it,
and forever melanated."